The mandate of BITC is anchored in an Act of Parliament. So if you go to the BITC Act of 2011 and you read Section 16, it will establish our mandate as investment promotion that is going out of Botswana to attract investors to come and do business in Botswana, but also to look at the domestic investment, come up with initiatives that enable local investors to have somewhere to place their money and also earn a return. The second aspect of our mandate is what we call export development and promotion. In other words, that's where we establish alignment with companies like Leah, who will incubate from the bottom, but when somebody reaches the point of export readiness, Leah will hand them over to us, but also including some that would have attracted who wouldn't necessarily have gone through Leah, who will then enter our programs and be taught what it takes to export. Once they are ready to export, it is our responsibility to then introduce them to identified foreign markets that align with their products.
The Export Development and Promotions Department under Botswana Investment and Trade Center is charged with the planning and implementation of trade missions in the region and internationally. In terms of our export development program, BITC's role is in ensuring that there is capacity built for companies to be export ready. I think it is important for us to understand that if we go out there as BITC, the first assessment that we put in place is to diagnose whether a company is healthy financially, to also be able to see in the processes of their manufacturing whether there are any gaps that we need to identify. Identification of these gaps helps us to then be able to assess the forms of interventions that are necessary.
The last and very important aspect of our mandate is what we call nation branding. This came about as a result of Botswana not being well known. So we have a huge responsibility of creating global awareness about Botswana, but also on the same side, making sure that the promises that we create through messaging to the global audiences, Botswana actually live up to those when somebody gets to visit the country.
So we have a national mandate which talks to how prepared are Botswana in terms of receiving the investors that BITC goes out to attract. It's a mammoth task. It's not a task that we can do in 5 years. It's an ongoing project. And where we want to start is we want to start by aggregating the voices of Botswana, number one. Number two is going out there on digital platforms to say this is who we are as a nation and this is what our offering is to the globe.
The other thing that is really exciting for us and we need to align as we plan are the promising regional changes or trends that we are seeing. If we felt that we are operating in an environment that's going this way, but ultimately changes and goes that way, what are the basic behaviors that we have to carry out in order to still be aligned to the changed course or direction? One of the areas that we are driving with all that we are doing is to realize investment and export growth, because it is only that when we achieve that we can speak about sustainable economic diversification.
We have the core strategy that we are driving. This strategy is called the go-to-market strategy. This is where we explore opportunities within the sectors that we are promoting in foreign markets, as well as promoting domestic investment to explore those sectors within those foreign markets. We have the core sectors that we are driving. These are agribusiness, manufacturing, financial and business services, as well as mining beneficiation.
So we do especially client centricity with a view to drive at the core some of these areas. Every 3 months we sit with the powers that be, starting with the Honorable Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, to account for the FDI that has flown in, for the domestic investment that you have facilitated, for the number of startup companies that we can point to that you've brought in, for the number of new markets that you have cultivated, the number of goods that you have facilitated into those markets, and even the level of global awareness and perceptions about Botswana in general.
We believe that with our understanding of the strategic focus, we will deliver customer-centric solutions that will elevate investment promotion. The strategy reflects on current ICT trends, which includes increase in use of mobile phones, internet, increased prevalence in use of social media. This will enable BITC to make informed decisions regarding investment development and promotion.
Our main aim is to identify sectors of opportunities and also identify those variables that make us competitive as a nation. Any company or anyone can come and get insights into what is happening internationally, regionally, and then in Botswana.
The key and primary objective, especially of the current government, is job creation. It is for this reason that some of the sectors that we really want to cultivate should be those that can really absorb a lot of our youth. Everything has to end with jobs and sustainable jobs.
We will also be investing into a customer relations management system that will allow us to analyze the database of our clients and as such be able to identify those high potential clients that are ready to invest in terms of the sectors that have been prioritized.
If we can achieve that much desired Team Botswana, where everyone is really playing their role, I think we can all tomorrow claim to have achieved in terms of accelerating the economic growth of this country.
The environment that we want to create is that of a high-performing culture, where we are able to show and remind all the business units what they need in order to deliver on this strategy. We obviously now need to go into what we need to push in and to push out in terms of employee value propositions.
It's very important that as we move forth, we do build these on a bedrock of governance practices, have governance processes that are going to aid, us achieving these targets and these milestones. From an internal audit perspective, it is very vital that we move from our traditional audits and focus on more specialized audits, such as your tax audits, such as your IT platforms reviews, such as your strategy audits, to ensure that everything that should be done is done accordingly. Within the risk management framework, we need to ensure that we have identified all potential threats that are going to be hurdles in us attaining our strategy and attaining our objectives. But we also need to ensure that within those risks, we've set mitigation actions as well as action plans, which are going to indeed make us be able to manage these risks to acceptable levels.
We have a very clearly mapped out stakeholder matrix, which really defines which institution has to play what role.
We will ensure that all government departments within the Botswana One-Stop Service Center are aligned to offer high service delivery.
One of the key success factors is to make sure that we have a very clear direction that we are pursuing. Number one, what sectors they are defined in Vision 2036, which markets we use our market intelligence tools, which we have in abundance, to really point us in the right directions. Through those market intelligence tools and the markets that we have selected, now emphasize a stronger collaboration with our embassies and other constituents that are patriotic to Botswana around the world. But key and very important will be to cultivate a conducive environment for doing business, and that we can do if we are working hand in hand as Team Botswana. If I can achieve that, everything else becomes easy.